Hello, good evening everyone. Good evening everybody. Good evening all the members in the house. Good evening team, good evening. Chalo, it's the time right now is 9:02. We will straight away get started for the session. It's already being streamed on YouTube as well. Okay, okay, so chalo, let's get started. We will straight away touch to the topic, guys, the core important one. Yesterday we were discussing all the key areas of focus for an IT project. Okay, now regardless, the point is don't get under panic or tension ki, "Arey baap re, I need to know so much of things." Okay, now let me tell you, it's pretty simple. Every topic that we mentioned yesterday or whatever we are going to discuss today, okay, if you just spend maybe 1 day or 2 days googling about it, reading something on internet about it, automatically you will understand ki how to use that and what are the right ways of doing things. Okay, but that means it is only 1 or 2 days of effort, and then you try to implement it in any sample project which you are doing. That will give you the knowledge, and if you put that just 2-3 days of effort, you will know that concept very nicely. And when you speak in interview, if somehow if you use all these terms and talks, it will create a positive impression. So it is like with less efforts, you can talk very maturely during your interview conversations. Okay. And only with maturity, people can think about all this and speak about all these things. That's where I'm trying to raise it with you guys. So first of all, it is not hard. It is not challenging. It is not key how exactly we are going to do it. Okay. No, we are okay. So Rajneesh is saying, no, we cannot do it because it is 15 topics. So today we will continue on top of it. Okay. So you please watch the yesterday's recording. And the thing is, it's just about that. So don't get panicked. Don't get in stress. It will just be like 2-3 days you have to put on complete one by one topic, and then try to really be comfortable with that. That will add a lot of value when you discuss that during the interviews. Okay. Now the second thing, there were a lot of some questions coming in. Ki, for freshers, is it required to know all these things? Okay, or from juniors, what to expect? So as part of today's session, we will cover this rest of the topics, and at the same time we will discuss what exactly a fresher is supposed to know, then what exactly a junior guy is supposed to know, junior as in 0 to 2 years, 0 to 3 years of experience, and then the mid junior, like mid senior people, which is like maybe 3 to 5 years, and then beyond like 5, 6 plus onwards. Okay, so we will try to even get to that level of clarity as part of today's session. Okay, so chalo everybody, let's continue the same rhythm which we were doing. Okay, every topic that we touch, you need to write the topic down, and then once we understand what exactly that concept is, then you have to score yourself 1 to 10. Okay, so if you are really lagging in that point, score it. Be honest to yourself. You are not going to share it with anybody. Be honest to yourself. If you are bad in that, make it 1, and if you are as great as possible, make it 10. So 1 to 10, try to analyze, and by the end of this entire exercise, then you have to prioritize it. Ek ek karke, you should start working on all of these areas. It might take like maybe 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, but definitely by the end of 3 months, you will be a far better professional, knowing a lot of things. And you already know this entire career transformation program. Knowing the techniques is only the step number 1. So if you just know all these things, but if you don't apply that, don't discuss that, so you will not get the value of it in your IT career. So how will you succeed in your career is if these all things which we are discussing, yesterday we discussed, today we will discuss, if you know how to implement it, and then you keep on implementing it from project to project, task to task, and if this becomes your way of living in the IT industry, that is where you will be able to enjoy the value out of this. Okay, so just understand, knowing all this today, yesterday's and today's topic is only the step 1. Next comes implementation, and then making it a part of your life. So anything has to be solved in that manner itself. Okay, and somebody in chat is saying, okay, bhai, where is yesterday's session and all? So like we have always been sharing it. So all these sessions will be available in the same blog which we are creating for the program. So I will be quickly sharing this with you guys as well. Okay, just a minute. Pasting it in the chat. Okay, all the sessions will be available at this place. You can just get it, you can just scroll it, and I'm just quickly sharing you. So yesterday's, so this is the full March related program that we discussed, and all the topics. So primarily the layout, the program. Next, yesterday we did this 21st March, so the YouTube link is available, the session content is also available. Similarly, then a day before that, the core foundation of IT we covered, the key points of that is also available. So if you can just scroll down here, all the topics from day one till date, everything is available here, and we will keep doing that till the end of the program. Okay, okay, fine. Now chalo, let's get started with the today's topic. So all guys ready? Okay, Mantu ready? Yeah, Shravan ready? Yeah, so शाहरुख खान करता है ना, गोली रेडी, स्ट्राइकर रेडी, हॉकी. ठीक है, so चलो चक देते हैं इंडिया. Okay guys, chalo, let's get on. So I'm sharing my screen. Let's move on to the next topic. And still we are supposed to cover a lot of further topics, but again I already clarified it. Don't get under pressure ki I need to know so much stuff. Okay, because I have learned all these are important over my 13 years of IT experience. Then I realized that all these sections are very important. So you will also need time to absorb it and bring it into life. So I'm giving you 13 years of key pointers, which you have to plan maybe in your upcoming few months, or like you can just, it's easy. Just that lack of awareness and lack of that curiosity to know it is the problem. So I think in 6 months, you all will be mastering all of these things. Okay, but again, knowing technique, implementing and making it a day-to-day activity in your project, that's what is required. Chalo, let's get going. So sharing my screen. Till yesterday we covered 15 topics, and now we will go to the next one. Okay, so all these are the topics that we covered till yesterday. So today we will continue with the next topic. So everybody, chalo, let's write down point number 16. Okay, understand. And again, this applies primarily, yes, we are focusing about IT project from developer's perspective. Okay, it could be front end or it could be back end. Okay, so it's basically for developers, these knowledge is very important. To some extent QA logo ko benefit honga, and to some extent DevOps, but basically like how the entire project is. DevOps might also have a lot of learnings in this one when we speak about infrastructure and all, but from development perspective, these things are something very essential, whether you are front end, whether you are back end, and regardless of technology. So all these concepts apply whether you do projects in Python, Node.js, Java, anything. Okay, the concept remains the same, just the technology syntax changes. The concept remains the same in any project that you go to. Okay, so write down 16th. Okay, understand when to use sync communication versus async communication, and how to achieve it. Guys, again, I'm telling it's all these topics are one day topic. If you sit on internet, within few hours, you will understand. But if you do this work in interview, you will be able to impress like anything. So work smartly, you can use all these things. It's a lot of information actually. And only actual good people get that kind of. Okay, so write it down. Understanding when to use sync communication and when to use asynchronous communication. Okay, so again, understand as in which requirements or which use cases of your project will go like this and which use cases will go like that. Now, what is sync? What is async? We'll keep it very simple. Let's say there is a, like, APIs, right? One service is calling another service. So you use the service object, then you call a method of that other service. So generally what happens is, let's say you're calling this method from this place, and the method call happens. Let's say this is the class A, and A calls this method of B class. The method might be in a different microservice hosted somewhere else. Okay, in a different node, in a different place. So what happens is A is calling B, and then B completes its full execution and then returns the response back to A, and then A continues forward. A regular method call. Yeah. When you call a method, from the current place, the control goes to that target place, executes it, it comes back, and then it resumes. So this caller basically waits till the time it gets the response and then continues. So that kind of model is synchronous communication. Okay. Now the thing is, yes, there is dependency. You have to wait till the time you get the response. And there are requirements in the project where it has to wait. There is no other option. So you have to understand what kind of use cases are mandatory that it should have sync nature of communication. And then there is async kind of communication. It is fire and forget. Okay, the caller A is just going to tell B ki do some task, and A will not wait for B's response. It will continue executing. Okay, so where response is not being asked for, that is asynchronous communication. And there are n number of ways of achieving it. There is Kafka, there is ActiveMq, there is RabbitMq, there is JMS kind of communication. Next, within in core Java itself, using threads, you can achieve asynchronous communication. So all those are ways how to use it. What is the best? वो सब भी exploring आएगा. But yeah, that is something, an area where you need to have the understanding when to use sync, when to use async, and which use cases we can better apply and how we have to use it. Okay. So thoda sa research about this also. As part of your interview preparation itself, try to read all these topics. So it will give you nice confidence. So chalo, score yourself 1 to 10 based upon your current knowledge on these topics and application. Whatever is your confidence. Write yourself guys 1 to 10. Chalo everybody. This self-analysis is very important. Otherwise, you will not even know what to grow on next. So you have to know your current depth. So this is what we are trying to achieve with this session. Okay. And if you're done, put a few dones in the chat. Write it at your side, okay? Don't do a fire and forget. Okay, ठीक है. Okay, fine. Next. Yeah, got a few yeses. अरे कोई तो नहीं बोल रहा है, नहीं बोल रहा है तो करो ना फिर. नो क्या होता है? Do it. Just score yourself 1 to 10. Don't take too much time. Whatever you know already, based upon that, try to score it. And be okay, even if other pointers less hai, so that is good that you know that it is less, so that you can work on that, right? नहीं पता रहेगा तो फिर कभी मालूम भी नहीं पड़ेगा, and you'll not even put efforts in that direction. Fine. So next pointer is point number 17. Okay, right? Understanding using scheduled jobs or chrons. There will be a lot of requirements where scheduled jobs or chrons have to be used in the projects. There will be a lot of requirements which will come in different forms. It happens. So let's understand what exactly these things are. And again, two things: what it is and how to do it. If you know it, so with knowledge, when project may need comes, automatically you will know, we can use a cron job here or scheduled jobs here. Okay. So what exactly is this? First, write it down. Understanding using scheduled jobs or crons. Okay. Now, basically what it is. There might be a lot of requirements in projects. Ki every end of the day, do some kind of processing. Okay. For example, let's say during the day, the website is having some payments happening. It's just a requirement, right? During the day, many people have done transactions. Okay. So a requirement might come okay, by every end of the day, try to process these payments which are done. So generally, if you are aware of the banking domain, what happens is the money behind the screen, even though swiping happens immediate, but sometimes for credit cards and all, the settlement doesn't happen immediately. So you might pay, Axis Bank gives you the product, but actually getting it from MasterCard and that place to the Axis Bank, that process is still a later settlement process. It's a behind the screen story. But the thing is, these kind of things on a daily basis, some batch processing keeps happening to really see it out. Ki bhai, all the transactions which happened today, was the money fully settled or is there anything still pending? So these kind of batch jobs keeps running in the projects. Okay. Sometimes end of the day activity, you might have to do a lot of processing, and the requirement might be process so and so data and then drop emails to every user. That kind of thing might be there. Or requirements might be by every end of the day, your application should generate a report and send an email to, let's say, a business owner so that he can review that kind of a data. These kind of things are also there. Many times it comes your application should process data and put it into a SFTP node or S3 bucket in Amazon so that somebody else can consume from there. So all these are kind of batch jobs. Okay, you don't have to do it throughout the day, but there is a scheduled place once in 24 hours or twice a day. These kind of patterns might be there. Okay, at that particular point, the code should run, it should process the data and do the activity which is expected. So it should not be real time, but rather it should be a scheduled job which will execute at whatever time you say and whatever frequency you say. Frequency you say as in din mein, whether it should run 4 times or 1 time, or 2 days mein it should run 1 time. That is scheduling. When should that execute? And it happens just offline process. Okay, now how to achieve it? In Spring, there are ways of doing it. In simple Linux machines, there are chrons by which it can be done. There are Lambda functions in AWS by which it can be achieved. So there are n number of ways of achieving it. Okay, you should have this sense also when to use what. And that's what shows mature developers. And how will you know it? Only when you read it. How many ways are there by which you can schedule jobs, and then read about the documentation about that. The blogs might be written on internet about it. When to use what is best practices, non-best practices. And then when you get in discussions in your meetings, you will be able to add value. Okay, IT is just like this. It's just discussions. What solution fit your current project requirement? And that means you need to have that knowledge so that you can do valuable discussions. Okay, and for gaining knowledge, you have to put this hard work, reading on internet, applying it on POC, and really understanding it. And it's very easily possible to achieve, so it's not hard, it's doable. Chalo guys, score yourself. Abhi kitna pata hai? Maybe if you have done any scheduled jobs anytime, if you already know it, ke aise aise hota hai and all, so put yourself on a good terms. If you know how to even implement it, put yourself on a good terms. Okay? And take everything positively, whatever you're listening here. Chalo, 1 to 10, score it. And next we'll go to the next one. If it is done, if you have scored it, put it something in comments, and then let's move to the next piece. Yes, dekho guys, if you are belonging in some other stream and if you know something about this, yes, you can definitely put it. It will be required. Nitish is saying only one part cron where I can score myself 10 proudly. Sahi hai, Nitish. Chalo, kar lo. Okay, dekho, now next. Okay, next thing, error handling. You have to learn this also. Okay, now the basic of error handling. Chalo guys, write down the second topic. Next topic, error handling. Dekho, there are a lot of standards of error handling, and this is technology independent. And it is required for everyone basically, UI, server, QA, because error codes will be there for everyone. Okay, now what happens? If one API, let's say A, is calling B, there are n number of possibilities, right? Success can happen, failure can happen, network timeout can happen. Okay, and in failure, there might be different types of failures. Accordingly, you have to give the response back. Sometimes UI में फिर multilingual भी बनाना पड़ता है. In different languages, the error messages has to be there. Nothing but there are two primary things called as error code and error message. Okay, the error message should be multilingual. If your application is like that, so it should know French, Russian, English, and maybe some other languages. Okay, so the messages should be in that format. The codes have to be defined. okay, when something has gone wrong, how exactly, what code will be used, and this is all custom to your application. Okay, and then decisions have to be made. Okay, bhai, multilingual karna hai, should it be implemented on the front end side? Okay, server gives only back the error code and UI itself take care of the error message mapping, or should it be implemented on the server side? And different projects will prefer to be on the UI or to be on the server. Okay, so there is no one right way of doing it. It is all up to the project. So you need to have again that kind of analysis. That's what I'm saying. Know this. Okay, anytime when a failure comes, precise problem should be communicated. Okay, what went wrong? It could be an exception or it could be any known kind of a problem. But it has to be further mapped to some corresponding error code, error message. And then it has to be communicated end to end so that there is a proper tracking in the system. Okay. Next, how this error code and the error message will be available as part of response. We said HTTP response codes are also there. 200 series is success. Okay, 300, 400, 500 generally belongs in failures. So do you want to build it up key if the error code is a non 200 series, then look at if the HTTP status code is like that, then you will expect a JSON response with these two fields with so and so value. All that is coming as part of your API designing. So you need to have some sense of this. And you never know, in interview, the conversation might just happen. How do you handle errors in your system? And you can just speak about these things. Okay, this is my basic response object. We use HTTP codes like this. We use the error code and the error message like this. We have implemented it on the server side or on the UI side. And then there will be discussions. Why this, why that? And that shows your maturity of error handling. Okay. And all the errors have to be in logs properly. Okay. And all this is basic knowledge which any project requires. Fine. So now, whatever is your understanding of error response, error codes, error messages, multilingual nature, UI front end, accordingly try to put some support for yourself. And it is required for every project right from the day one, because errors will always be there and it needs to be always handled. So it is a part of your day-to-day coding. Again, don't try to see how much pressure should know how much. First, know that these all things are required for project, whether a junior intern is working or 20 years of experience person is working. These all things are essential for the project. Who does, how does, when does, that's a separate story, but understand what the project needs. Okay, chalo, score yourself, and then let's go to the next point. Okay. Next, logging. Okay, logs. Basic logging to sabko pata hai, warn, debug and all that. Okay, info, warn, debug, error, blah blah blah. Okay, trace, everything basic, so everybody knows it. But in a scalable system, where there are microservices, where nodes will be created on the fly, right? Auto scaled systems. Right now, only one instance is running, and then when the load comes on the system, this is how real world is, right? So when traffic all of a sudden comes, if the system is configured like a EBS, okay, or auto scaled manner, so a new node will be created on the fly. Load balancer is going to balance the traffic across two nodes. Nothing but when new node comes, new logs are generated. And when the traffic reduces, this node goes away as well, and you fall back to the old node. Now the question is, where are the logs of that node? It all needs special handling. So scalable systems may log processing becomes further more complex rather than a simple normal system. Normal system mein to generate kar denge, rahenge, it will be there in the file. But in scalable systems, that's not a practical solution because the nodes might be deleted as soon as the traffic reduces. So then what should be your solutions? Okay. And that is where people have these solutions like Elasticsearch, or internally, let's simply keep it Kibana. A very popular solution is Kibana of this log management in scalable systems. Very commonly used. Many projects have this. And how does it work? Okay, how does it work? It is key the node. Now try to visualize this, guys. I'm just trying to create a visualize this in your mind. I'm trying to paint a picture. Let's say you're running your system in production environment. There is a node on which your service or your Java code or Python code or whatever code is running. Guys, these are concepts independent of technology. Maybe in a different thing, maybe different technology might be there, not Kibana, some other tool might be there. But again, these are all independent stuff. Okay. Now, a node is there, in that some services are running, your services. Okay. Now, basically, when the code runs, it generates logs within that own machine. Okay. Now, what is a Kibana system? It is a third system which is outside your current node. Okay. And the configuration will be like this. Okay. When the logs are generated in your node, you need to write it in a certain pattern. And this Kibana will be configured in such a manner, you go to that machine and then take those logs and start holding it at one place. These are all like AWS team guys does. DevOps people are supposed to know all this thing. Okay, they generally take care of this Kibana setups and all that infrastructure wise, connection wise. So they are supposed to know all this thing. Naito, otherwise developers might also have to make the hands dirty in these configurations, but required for the project. So that means if there is one node, there has to be one central log churning system, which is Kibana. And internally, they might have a cluster of nodes and all that. Forget about that. Let's keep it simple. So your application node is there. There is a Kibana node, and the data or the logs from this server will be moved to this Kibana. It will be available locally on the machine also, plus given to this Kibana machine also. And let's say now auto scaling is happening, another node comes. From there also, whatever logs are generated, that also comes in Kibana. So by that way, even if there are hundreds of logs, it all comes to one place in Kibana. And then there is a UI where you will be querying and getting these logs. This is how it works. Okay. So this is one thing you need to know. It's mandatory because if the node is gone, the logs are gone. So it cannot be a trustworthy solution. So it has to be centralized with the cluster so that there is no single point of failure. And then with Kibana, you can actually read it. That is where big systems have Kibana, and that basic understanding is definitely required because as a developer, you might have to work with Kibana to check the logs. You might not be even given machine access. Some projects you will not be even given this machine access for Linux so that you can go and grab the things there. It will all be available via this Kibana tool itself. Okay, so that is one requirement. A node, if it is lost, data logs will be gone. So it cannot be like that. So we need a system like Kibana. Now the second problem here, okay, generally when you work with bigger systems, it doesn't happen in one node. There are series of services involved to process one request. Okay, for example, somebody let's trying to log in into system or do a money transfer or purchase a product via Amazon. So request comes to the, let's say, entry controller, wherever it is. And this first level controller might talk to a lot of other services. There might be separate services deployed on a different machine altogether called as authentication service. So this entry request, you call that authentication service, which is deployed on a different machine. And then that service tells you whether this request is valid, yes or no. If it is valid, then further you might call something else. For projects, there are many times limits. Okay, let's say a user cannot purchase a transaction, purchase any product which is more than 50,000. Just a requirement. So there might be some other validation service or limit check service where this code, once authenticated, then check the limit validations, say whether it's allowed to do or not do, and then perform the actual payment process. Just try to understand. Microservices, इसीलिए तो आए. That's the reason there are microservices. Every service does one particular task. And then there will be so many services. Now what is happening here? It is where it gets interesting. So I try to follow. Okay. I can open Paint and show it to you. Okay, but time बहुत निकल जाएगा उसमें. Okay, maybe some other time. But the thing is like entry on service A. Now it is talking to another service on a different machine B, gets the response, now talks to C, gets the response, now talks to D, gets the response and does the processing. So single request is traveling so many places and getting response. Now you tell me if there is any problem in this request processing. The logs are generated at 5 different machines. How will we know where the problem is? And 5 is just an example. In a scalable system, there might be 10 instances of authentication service running. Same authentication service, 10 bar on 10 machines it might be running. And it out of 10, it might go anywhere based upon the load. How will you know where the log is being generated? And the customer might say, I tried to do payment, it is not working. Now you debug and tell us. So basically, practically impossible. If you don't have Kibana kind of systems, working in scalable system is practically not possible. You cannot go to 10 different places, search and tell. You need a central place, and that is where these are mandatory for big systems. Small systems with no scale and all, वहाँ पे चल जाएगा. But bigger systems में तो mandatory. So at least have that understanding. Why it is required? Because there is no other option. There is no other option. There is no manual way of doing it. There is no workaround. Either Kibana or some other log processing tool is required. Okay? So that is what. Now just put your understanding. Whatever we spoke, try to put yourself 1 to 10. Kitna pata hai? Okay? Maybe you might not have even worked on scalable systems, but the thing is, future mein scale hi chalega. Any project you go, why data science and all is going to pick up, data processing and all, already it's taking so much hype in the market, right? Because there is a lot of data being generated in the system. Traffic is going to grow, and these all things will become default expected for the projects. छोटे projects आजकल ज़्यादा नहीं मिलेंगे. You will be operating at a bigger scale. Fine. चलो, score yourself up and just confirm it as done. And somebody saying no idea how to schedule job. That is where everything is now up to you to explore on internet. Use chat GPT, use internet, be comfortable, and सब कुछ समझ जाएगा यार. I'm telling 2 days work. Every topic में 2 दिन डालोगे ना, master बन जाओगे. It's not hard at all, but it will need a sequence of hard work. Okay, how to do, and that shows your maturity, because confidence भी उतना बढ़ेगा when you are talking in interview. Smartness and everything will grow. Okay, okay, fine. चलो, next, moving on. Okay, logging done. Now, this is again critical. Working with open sources or libraries. Now, this is a very important thing, guys. Okay, seniors, though, I think already they might be knowing and aware of this, but even people with 1 year experience, 2 years, many times struggle with this. Okay, working with open sources. Okay, for example, let's say anything. Okay, let's say Redis, Ehcache, okay, ZMQ. All these are different tools. Okay, let's say ActiveMq is again an open source. Mongo is one. Okay, GSON libraries will be there. These are project dependencies, something. Okay, let's say Amazon SQS. Okay, and there might be a lot of more things. Okay, now you need to understand, basically speaking with juniors, okay, let's say web application you're developing, database connectivity, you need a database driver, right? It's again a library. You have to put it in your project, then only you can talk to the database. Like this, lot of ready-made capability is available, which is available in the form of libraries. Now the thing is, different libraries will be used for different purpose, and you need to develop this art as a mandatory thing as early as possible in your query. Okay, ability to learn, explore, and apply any open source. You cannot be afraid कि मेरे को नहीं आता. Why? Because there might be 100 such open sources which might keep coming every single day. If you are in the front-end world, बहुत कुछ है वहाँ पे. It's like पूरी खिचड़ी पड़ी है. And every single day, new versions are coming, new variations are coming. Even backend में lot of evolutions are happening. And market में that thing will always keep happening. So you can never say, I don't know that. You have to figure out on how to learn it. So this is very important. So write this down: ability to learn, explore, and apply any open source. Okay. So point is, regardless of what name is available here, you need to work on this ability. First mindset should be, yes, even though I don't know, not a problem. Let me explore it. Let me apply it. Let me do a short POC about it, how it works, what are the best ways. And then you have to think how to apply it in the project also. And you have to apply all those dependencies, see, and then get it into the code. Okay. So डरने से कुछ नहीं होगा, because there it will come, lot of things will come. You have to learn how to do it, and the quickly you can learn, it is going to be better. Okay. So just write down, score yourself here: ability to work on any open source. So you need to learn that, how to learn any new open sources. And further, this extends not to just open sources, but for any technology. And guys, you need to understand that's where the market is going. Okay, recently I think Shenu है अपने group में, right? He's a Java developer. His team member now, company में उसको बोल दिया कि भाई now work on, let's say, learn Selenium, and we need to do automation in the system. Okay, I know a person full, like for 10 years he worked on backend side only. All of a sudden he got a project which is fully in a React kind of programming, and they said now work on this React project. We don't have Java work for you. So after 10 years now he's working on a React thing. That means project might come from any angle, and business will need you to learn and work on that. And you cannot say I cannot do it. They'll be like, bhai, you're a software engineer. You have to learn anything and work on anything. So thoda mind ko open karo. This is what I'm saying. There are two ways. You will feel like main to quit kar raha hu, ja raha hu, but it's like your life. You never know, next project might also give you that kind of twister. So you need to develop this art of learning and adapting to new things, because that will come, guaranteed, that will come any phase of your life. And the way the market is changing, technologies and all, so you have to be riding that curve. You cannot stick with like, I knew only this and I will not change. That's going to destroy your career like anything. Okay. So guys, important. So now, ispe score karo. Ability to learn, explore on anything new. Uspe where do you stand? Fear ko thoda khatam karna padega, guys. You cannot be afraid, scared anymore. You need to, any new name you search, you get, start Googling it, start doing chat GPT, start setting things up, do the POC, get comfortable with it. Okay, that's how your approach should be. Darna nahi hai, we have to really knock it down, because it will keep coming. Okay, fine. Next. Okay, 21. Okay, learn estimations. Okay, estimations, or like ability to estimate the work. This is very important activity, again required for every individual, developers, QA, any person, anybody who is doing work in IT industry needs to know estimations. That's the first step. Basically, before you even start coding, you have to tell how much time it will take to finish this work. Okay, now I'll just give you 2 pointers here. What important things to focus whenever you're trying to estimate is how much time it will take for finishing some work. You need to consider 2 factors. One is scope, and the second is time. There could be a third factor, number of people. But generally, as you become more senior leads, so there might be juniors given to you, then the number of people comes in picture. So basically, estimation is planning at these 3 levels. Even scope, okay, what work needs to be done. Okay, and I'm telling you, all the working people in the house, never give estimate if you don't understand the scope. Never. It will backfire on you anything. Okay, 13 years ago, I have been doing day-to-day estimation, but if the work is not clear to me, if the scope is not clear to me, I tell straight away to the people ki we cannot give estimates right now because things are not clear. No matter how much people push you, doesn't matter, the CEO of your company is pushing you, if the things are not clear, you should never give estimate. Okay, that's how your approach should be. If you have a full understanding of what needs to be done, then only you can comment on estimate. It's not a guess or tukka. Based upon your estimate, there is a lot of further planning happening. Releases and commitments go on based upon, if you say in 4 days work will be finished, and if it doesn't happen, there are a lot of other chain effects which comes in. So if you want to estimate, first thing, without knowledge, don't give a number. If you're doubting too much, add buffer and just say them. Okay, but first step is know the scope. What work exactly needs to be done, have an understanding of that. Now when you are doing this scope wise what needs to be done, thoda mind mein, I think you need to discuss with your team members even on the how strategy, like how are you planning to implement it. Okay, these two things have to be very clear, or at least the how part should be like 70% clear. It's not possible to 100% be ready, but high level design aata hai yahan. The how part should be 70% ready. How are we going to implement this feature? We will use these 3 microservices. Pehla code yahan jayega, it will talk to this, it will do this. Database aise karenge, caching aise karenge, and all those drama. Like notification aayega, third party say we will call this. That approach also needs a discussion. So just with what you should never do. Many times in your projects this will happen. The product owner, the person who comes with requirement, he might give you requirement and say, hey, now I gave you the requirement, tell me the time. They just ask like this only, how much time it will take. So just don't start. Okay, now you gave us requirement. Let us process this internally. If we have questions, we will ask you again. Then we will look at the approach and then we will tell you, but we cannot give the estimate straight away. 13 years in IT, guys, and I never gave estimate on the fly straight away. Without analysis, I never gave it. And that is required. Okay? Now, you need to further whatever scope is there, understand that. Even discuss with your team members on how you are going to implement at high level approach. And then these two things will give you clarity of time. Whether it's a 3 days work, 5 days work, 10 days work, or bigger work. If it is bigger work, then maybe the scope needs to be cut down. Yahan pe pura negotiation chalta hai. Come on, how can you say 2 weeks of work? Then you have to say, why 2 weeks for one person? If you add one more person, maybe in 1 week or 7 days, we can finish this work. Then they will be like, oh, no, 7 days is also too much. We want in 5. Then you should say, cut down the scope or give us one more developer. So ऐसे थोड़ा negotiation में वो पूरा का पूरा estimation game works. Okay, so keep your mind open, but always it is a tally between these factors: scope, then time, and then how many people. Accordingly, you have to give that commitment. Okay, fine. Now, just whatever is your ability to estimate, try to score yourself 1 to 10. Socho thoda, look at your past experiences, and even for freshers, you should start doing this before starting any code. Try to ask yourself a question: ki bhai, can you predict how much time it will take to finish it? Can you predict the complexity of your own work? It needs maturity to get there. Okay, you need to be able to predict ke problems kya aayenge before even starting with the work. Okay. Okay. Take some time, take some time. All topics are very essential. I have accumulated it over my 13 years of experience. I did project work. I did a lot of extensive coding, did the architecting of projects, work with the team. Even till now, we do design discussions, brainstorming a lot, which will work, which will not work, all those things. So very much technically involved in all these activities. And after all this, now I'm giving you the gem things which I learned out of my full 13 experience. It will take some time, but know it ke path kya hai. Okay? And yes, I might miss a few things as well. So you keep adding. Life is like limitless. Chalo, next one. Okay, I'll just say branching models. All the working people should also already know this, like branching models during coding, like whatever Bitbucket you use or GitHub you use, any repository you use, you need to know about the branching. I'll not get into details, but know it. You don't directly code on the production branch. The code is arranged in a manner, production branch is different, development branch is different, and on which environment, dev environment, QA environment, stage environment, prod environment, Docker-based environments, on which environment, which branch can go, there are defined rules for that as well. So you need to have branching understanding and also 23rd environment understanding. And this is going to be required right at the day one of your projects. You will code it on branches and you will be expected to do deployment testing on some environments. So local make what is possible on remote servers, what is combining these two, try to score yourself or maybe even individual, whatever, it's up to you. And if you're not aware of anything, that becomes the starting point. Yo, now I have to learn this. Then go to Google, एक एक करके सीखते. ठीक है, fine. चलो, moving on next. Okay. 24th, health monitoring. Okay. Again, the more senior you become, then comes this health monitoring. Okay, maybe at beginners level not that much required, but as you get seniors, health monitoring, you have to start seeing that in the system. Like this will include even alerts. When any, like you might be seeing sometimes when I keep my screen shared, I get pop-ups, notifications, Kibana alerts and all that. So all this is health monitoring. Okay, whenever some exception comes in production environment, it should give a alert straight away to you. Okay, bhai, ye problem ho gaya. Whenever a service goes down in production, it has to give you alerts immediately. Okay, hey, so and so service is not working in the prod environment. These are all alerts and health monitoring. Whenever any RAM in production is running, it's configurable. Whenever any RAM is running at 80% for let's say 10 minutes and it's not coming down, again, you can set alerts for that. Whenever the hard disk is running, let's say 70% full, you can set up alerts for that. Because these things can happen anytime. So you need to get those alerts in the system so that you can proactively fix the problem. So at any of your experience level, this understanding is definitely required because that is how big projects mean this alerting, health monitoring is very important thing. So proactively, you should be able to address the problem before it damages your real world systems. Okay, that is what comes as part of health monitoring and alerts. Sometimes, like primarily DevOps people do it, but the application developers have to work along with them to do that. Okay, maybe yeah, it's all like together work karke discussions karenge, they will finalize on how to do those things. Many times DevOps might independently do it, but otherwise application developers se bhi baat karke which kind of errors are supposed to be considered as problems and then raised. So for that, developer knowledge is also going to be required. Okay, so it is a collaboration work between the two parties. So now just put yourself, what is your knowledge on the health monitoring aspect? And big systems mein mandatory again. Okay, so, and I think many of the projects that you join, it will be an ongoing project where you will just join in. So all these things are expected knowledge there. Okay, chalo next. Concurrency handling. Okay, I'll tell you one very interesting story. Concurrency handling. एक जूनियर ने किया था प्रोडक्शन में, भयंकर कांड हो गया था. किसी जूनियर ने किया, द सीनियर डिड नॉट रिव्यू एंड प्रोडक्शन में वाट लग गई थी डे वन लाइव जाते ही बिकॉज ऑफ दिस कॉन्करेंसी प्रॉब्लम. ओके, देखो व्हाट इज कॉन्करेंसी हैंडलिंग. कि देयर इज वन मेथड, okay, which is running. You have written a method and now there are 10 requests trying to parallelly execute the same method. Okay, you have that object level locking, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But eventually in the core, if there is a method written and many threads are trying to execute that method at the same time, so is it really written in a manner that they don't bother each other in terms of the functionality of the system? For example, simple example, it's a counter. Increment the counter, कि कितने request is coming in the system. Okay, simple example so that many even beginners can understand. Increment the counter, let's say 1 को 2 करना है. Whenever a request comes in, increment the counter. Simple requirement. Now let's say 50 threads are trying to do that logic I++ at the same time. 50 threads are trying to do. Currently the count is 1 and then 50 threads are trying to parallelly change 1 to 2. What will happen? Functional expectation is the count should become 1 plus 50, so 51 hona chahiye. But because of parallel processing, it might just be a random behavior. It might say some threads got it, the microprocessor speed, some did not get it. It will just end up maybe a 10 number or even 2 number. You don't know. They are parallelly trying to execute. There is no control. There is no locking available there. So that's where it's a functional problem. Normally the code will work, but as soon as you go to production in parallel, it will not work. It will blast. So mature developers think like that. When you're coding, if multiple requests will come at the same time, is your code intact for this parallel processing? You have to think about like that. Okay. And kaise karna hai? You have to apply required locks at the right places. You cannot just allow code to go like that. And you have to think about object level pe chalega. And then there is this one bigger problem. If you use static components in Java world, okay, whatever, static maps, static variables, that means it is shared across everybody. Somebody accidentally used a static where it was supposed to be object level and it broke the functionality like anything in production environment. It was a blunder. Okay. And I worked on one of a project long time ago. In that, on the wall in the office, okay, on the wall in the office, they printed, "We will never use static variables in the system." Okay. They made it a thumb rule that nobody should use anything static in the system. You figure out other ways of doing it, but nobody will use static. Because juniors ko kaun samjhate baithe ke impact kya hote chalega. They made a thumb rule, no more static in the system. You cannot define a map as static or anything like that. So it has to be worked. There were workarounds then for that project. Why? Because by mistake, people, if they use static, it becomes common for everything and it really blasts very bad. So yes, there are things like this. So, but I want to tell you, you need to even think whether the project can fail because of this concurrence. Sochna pade, because it will end up in a disaster. Or pata bhi nahi chalega what's happening. Debugging concurrency problems is really very tricky. You need to get to the logs, you have to see the thread IDs, and then you have to estimate ke do threads saath mein aake kuch kar rahe hai. It's really crazy to debug such problems. Okay, it's not that straightforward. And then that takes a lot of toll also, and it will become very risky. So while coding, try to really focus on this area. Okay, will there be a problem? Chalo, try to just put how much you think about concurrency. Okay. And along with concurrency, I would even say thoda sa focus on thread pools. Can you create custom thread pools? Can you use these kind of thread pools? In which scenarios to use it? Attach this knowledge to that. It's all related information. There are so many ways of doing this thread pool related. So how many number of threads should be there in the pool? How to open a thread, release a thread? Okay. In whatever technology you use, how to accomplish that state? All that has to be figured out. Okay, so all this bundled knowledge karke just try to score yourself kitna pata hai. And because in interview they will talk about these topics. Acha, tell me, how did you do concurrency handling in your project? And like, bomb. How did you handle error in your project? Okay, and then they might just give a situation. If like this happens in your code, what can you do? And if you don't know those things, kya hi batao, right? So this is what understanding is required, because every project might face it at any time. And this is all comes with experience. The more you do, so I think these 2 sessions are wonderful sessions. Nobody gave it to me throughout my 13 years of IT experience. This is all accumulated knowledge through years. Okay? So I think you should really appreciate it. This is gem knowledge basically. You will not find it. Okay? What ढूंढना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, fine. चलो next. Leadership. एक एक करके अभी first we will cover the rest of the topics. बाद में we'll go in details क्योंकि R पे R तो निकल ही जा रहा है. There are so many things to talk about projects. Okay, leadership. Write down leadership. Next, handling pressure situations and still keeping cool. It's a skill which needs to be developed. Leadership is also a skill which needs to be developed. Next, 28. Okay, client or stakeholder management or demo / presentations. This also needs to be developed. This is part of your day-to-day job. That's where I'm including here. So tech plus non-tech, soft skills plus the core skills, both are required. Next, okay, knowledge on API automation. 30, knowledge on UI automation. Let me tell you, there are companies in the world where there are no QA team members. Okay, you go to European market, you go to some other places, QA ka culture hi nahi hai. There is no tester in the team. Okay, and some of the clients even asked me, "Bhai, India mein testers hote hai kya?" Okay, literally, some of the clients asked me that question, and I said, "Yes, we have it, and this is a blah blah blah." They said, "Oh, in our country we don't have testers. Matlab, for many projects, developers itself does the testing." Now you can imagine this level of API automation, UI automation, all those systems might be expected for developer to know, explore, and work as well. Be ready for anything in IT. Don't tell this is not my boundary. Anything can happen. Be ready for it. Okay, it's a changing world. Next, 31. Okay, scalability, which includes this auto scaling, load balancing. I'll tell you, it's a two parts basically here. First, you need to have the understanding of how it works. Okay, and the second important part is, as a developer, how you should write code so that it can auto scale. Now, this is really important. That's the developer responsibility. Infrastructure people might just set it up ki load बढ़ गया hai. DevOps team might just set it up. If the load is growing high, one more node should be there. It should also serve traffic and distribute the load. You can talk about ki make the session sticky, make it non-sticky, whatever, all that drama. But main problem here is the developer's responsibility. You should write the code in such a manner that if the same code runs on one another machine, it should still work functionally properly. Okay, now how is this not going to be functionally proper? Let's say in your Java code, at instance level, if you have written a project where you are using object level hash maps or concurrent hash maps for data keeping. Okay, on one instance, you have created a hash map and there you are storing the data there. And let's say 3-4 requests is required to process one requirement. 3-4 API calls are required. So one API call has entered this data in this cache, within which is local cache within the same server. Now second request is coming. It is going to that cache, taking the data and doing a processing forward. Like this, many logics will be there. But the thing is, now let's say if auto scaled system may, in that new machine, this cache is not going to be synced by default. And let's say if the next request goes to this, it will try to check into its own cache. The data will not be there. Request will start failing. That means functional code is not compatible to auto scale. If the same code runs in 10 machines, it cannot behave the same way. So the application team developers might say, no, we cannot auto scale these services because there is a lot of dependencies. So you have to change the way the coding is happening. You have to build the right system so that it can auto scale. Coding may improvements will be required. How can every service be independently operating? Okay, sochna padega. There are ways, there are caches and all that. There are, like, you can sync these things. There are ways of doing it. But if you're not aware, you will not be able to do that. Okay, so chalo, write it down. At least I think application developers should focus how to design services which supports auto scale. Okay, okay, chalo, next. Okay, next topic, 32. Zero downtime systems. Just awareness is required, and I think thoda bahut uske related knowledge aa dega. Right now, just be aware. Zero downtime systems. The system should never come down. It is always running. Okay, and we can achieve that with blue-green deployment. Okay, that's one way of achieving a zero downtime system, because deployment has to happen every 2 weeks. Production mein code ja raha hai, so deployment has to happen. Live traffic will always be there, but Can you imagine a product like, let's say, WhatsApp or Facebook or Google? They are saying now we have a scheduled deployment. 15 minute ke liye, we cannot give our service to the world. It's not a practical solution. So the system should always be 24/7 up and running. And internally behind the screen, there is a lot of setup done at infrastructure level in order to achieve that state, because deployment has to happen and it has to be tested, and then it can be, then live traffic will be moved. So there is a lot of work going on behind the screen. Okay, like I'll just tell you in a step-by-step word-wise manner. Some of you might be able to catch it, some might not, but so there. Okay, there are two instances in production where the live traffic is going on right now. Okay, so with the load balancer, दोनों में traffic जा रहा है. How do you do your blue-green deployment? Is you redirect traffic. Only one server should serve. Second server में से no real-time traffic will be good. So by that way, the entry is switched only to one machine. Rest second machine becomes free. Now you do the deployment on the second machine. Okay, full service deployment of whatever release code and all. Then there will be some other endpoints via which internal company people will be able to test this second system. If it is all proper, okay, then good. If it is not proper, they will take some time to fix and everything. But once it looks good, then live traffic will be moved here to this place with the new code, and then purana jo machine tha, wahan pe the new deployment will happen, and then the traffic will be distributed back on both the machines. This is how it is, a blue-green deployment. One at a time, you switch the network traffic, customers ko redirect karte at load balancer and Nginx configuration, you move them here and there, accordingly do the deployment and get it back up. Okay, so like this kind of approaches will be there. You have to always have reversals when you're doing deployment. What should be the reversal strategy if something goes wrong? Okay, database deployment ko bhi reverse karna aana chahiye. Don't do, okay, there are blunders which has happened. Database ki maaben kar diya system mein public mein. And then we have to restore like 30 minutes pehle wala data. For some projects we had to do that. Database was corrupted, live data corrupted during deployment activities, and it was very tough to recover. So we went like 30 minutes before ka snapshot tha, wahan se data ko leke we restored that new data, and we told to the clients that 30 minutes like if new data is coming, so we will not be able to hold that. And it was okay because we were in a downtime window. So, but be aware, can't hote projects mein. So you have to be really careful about it. Okay, okay, fine. So these are the additional things which we want to put on the table. Okay, okay, so at least chalo 30 tak to pahunch gaya. Okay, just try to just go through these things, okay, and try to score yourself ki kitna pata hai. Okay, now your next action should be ki now, okay, how much a fresher is supposed to know. Simple karte hai guys, dekho. First of all, don't feel the pressure of all this. This is a knowledge required over a period of time as you grow in the IT industry, first of all. Okay. Second, it is all matter of choice. It is all matter of choice. If you want to grow faster in your career, you will try to learn all these things faster. If you want to grow at a relaxed pace, nothing will happen. 5 saal le lo ye sare cheezein seekhne ke liye. That's also fine. But if you want to target ki 1 saal mein I want to be, that will take your career like way too forward. Okay, so that's what it is. Simple rakho cheezon ko, but it's like long term mein sab kuch aana chahiye. Now you strategically plan in how much that time should be. Is it 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? Okay, now the second, it is very simple to apply. I'm telling you, we started the session with that knowledge. Just 2 days will be required. You just need to sit, read, and apply it in your some project which you are doing. 2 days ke andar, if you seriously do it for 1 month, March is ending right now, April month ka target karo, maximum of these topics I should cover. In 1 month, itna knowledge aa jayega, you will feel confident ki bhai, I can do a lot of things now. And how will knowledge gain? Once you sit, read, see what people are saying, what are the ways of doing it, and then you actually practically apply it. Incrementally बढ़ता है, अचानक से you cannot climb a big tower. One step at a time करोगे तो after 2 months you will be like, wow, I know so much. So right now we saw that big roadmap. अभी एक step उस पे चलना है. That's how you will become better, one step at a time. So your strategy right now should be, out of all this, Second step should be identify the priority. What do you think will be more important for you, and try to arrange that in that priority. Okay, next, put up a plan every week. How many of these pointers you want to learn and implement? एक करके करते चलो, and somehow try to put it in your resume as well. Put these words like concurrency handling, load testing, blah blah blah. Put it all in your CV somehow. Smartly use it, and you will find that resume का भी weightage बढ़ते चल रहा है. Maybe new the POCs, whatever you are doing with that new tools or softwares might come. Even add that in your resume somehow. Value बढ़ेगा, 1-2 महीने में बहुत अच्छा हो जाएगा. So this is how incrementally you work towards it. Okay, and again important is get into doing it practically. Okay, now a few simple things. Fresher ko how much is required? Let's do this simple, just a quick main key questions. If you are a fresher, how much of this knowledge is required? First of all, gone are the times where fresher ko public bachcha samajhti thi. Those days are gone. Okay, people now expect freshers to be smart, to be able to Google, explore things, and do something. Freshers cannot be dumb. Okay, literally, I am telling you, if in my project also a dumb fresher comes who does not even know how to figure out things, that means not a thinking brain. Just coming and dara hua hai banda hai, not speaking, not discussing, not trying to solve, not confident. I don't want such fresher in my team. Right? That's natural. You cannot have scared people who are worried on how to solve problem in your team. So as a fresher, first is approach and attitude wise. Okay, anything you tell them, I will figure out, I will try. And then you should put your 100% for knowing it. And you should figure out something. Kuch to brain should work. Not like, I don't know what to do next. Something should come. Can I do this? Can I do that? How will it come? With practice. So we need that thinking brain who will try to figure out something. That is step one. Second, now things are so much common, okay, in your college level or maybe on internet, and so many learning platforms are available. Udemy, this, that, YouTube, everything free. The point is, after all this thing also, if you say, I don't know Spring, I don't know this, I don't know that, it really looks like kya kiya fir duniya mein. Okay, big companies might hire you and put you on a 3 months of training program where they will teach everything. Okay, but the thing is, medium scale companies, small scale companies cannot afford that kind of training. You are supposed to do it for yourself. Maybe they'll just give you domain training for 1-2 weeks, and then you're on the project working. Even interns, freshers, understand expectation of the market is quickly come, quickly learn, quickly deliver. And competition is so high that company wants good, smart people who can do this quickly wala thing. So the freshers' expectation, one, they should not be dumb. They should be having a thinking mind on how to solve problems. If they are stuck somewhere, they will go to Google, they will talk to people, they will apply some experiment, but kuch na kuch solution laane ki koshish karenge. That thinking brain is required. Rest, then the team will support them to get the work done. But if they are like, oh, I don't know what to do next and I'm completely lost, and if this becomes a behavior, that's bad performance. Okay, that's one. Second, know all the latest whatever technologies are running around. You should be able to code on that. If you are seeing a code, you should be able to understand that code. So understanding of code, able to do some coding based upon the technologies which you know is required. During interviews, we will check for that even for fresher. Ki bhai, if you say Java or Spring, okay, tell us ye requirement hai, kaise code karonge. Whether you really understand that coding aspect, able to think of a requirement, code things accordingly, can you really do those things? That's the second focus. Okay, that's it. You need to know the latest technologies which are happening. Second, you need to have a thinking brain. Third is, you need to be very much focused and dedicated. Okay, fresher ban ke aoge, and then if you do drama, meko work-life balance chahiye, and today, I'm not going to stretch late, and weekend mein kyun karu? Such freshers does not have a strong future. Okay, fresher should be sale ko kuch nahi aata hai, and you are not ready to put efforts, waste people, right? So with fresher, if you are coming, guys, Many of the people who became successful in their life, initial 4 साल तक जान लगा के काम किए. They never cared about anything. And if you're coming as a fresher in industry, that's how you should be, ready and hungry for learning, putting efforts, dedication, commitment. If you come up with a lot of drama, IT will be like, already so many tensions are there, why this baggage on us? Because already you don't know anything, and on top of that, you're nonsense. It's not good. So dedication should be hardcore. कर लेंगे. Stretch करना है रात को, मार लेते. Weekend करना है, कर लेंगे. ठीक है? People will respect your time and give you free time, but from your side, don't like कर मेरे को free time चाहिए. Don't ask for it. That's a bad remark. Come on, you should be dedicated. Seniors are giving their best self out. People, I've seen like Diwali ke chutti mein, this happened in my team. In Diwali vacation, somebody booked flights and was traveling to hometown 2 week ka chutti leke, and production mein blunder ho gaya. Okay, he was going to airport. Raste se gaadi U-turn leke, he came back and said, okay, I'm cancelling my flight and I'm not going for vacation. Let's work on this project. That committed people are there in industry. You need to gain that, right? You're giving this life for this. So this is important. So freshers' basic expectations are these. Thinking brain, not dumb, not stuck at a place. Which means then second, should be confident and should know the latest technology, should be able to relate code with functionality. Okay, with whatever technologies you keep it in your resume. Third, should be ready and committed for hard work. Okay, when you have these 3 qualities, and then confidence, yes, of course. And iske saath fir integrity, like honest and genuine chahiye. Okay, you should really be genuine, not like dramatic. So if you have these qualities, freshers are more than enough. Baki cheez, whatever we discuss here, even if you don't know anything, doesn't matter. But if these 4 or 5 qualities are good, we are okay with you. Why? Because you will be learning all those things while you're in the industry. But agar wo hi nahi aa raha, starting the quality nahi hai, and if on top of this, if you speak about whatever we discussed, the 30 points, that's amazing. Okay, that's fresher expectation. Okay, so only these few things, maybe record it, write it down later. Now, from 0 to 2 years of experience, people. Okay, dekho, whatever we discussed yesterday and today, okay, everything is part of the project. Doing the coding, doing with the right standards, awareness of the database, API standards, okay, error handlings, log management, cache utilization, sync async communication. Everything is a day-to-day job. So you cannot simply say, I don't know these things. If you're saying I don't know these things, even after 1 year experience or 2 years experience, that gives a feeling maybe you did not even work on proper projects. You did not gain any knowledge in your 2 years because pata hi nahi hai bacche ko. Your projects are not good. You are not good. You did not take time to understand, explore, and grow yourself. It goes as a bad remark. At least basic cheezein to pata honi chahiye, because that's what you're trying to learn. So from 0 to 3 years of experience, what we will know it first, you should be able to first code. Whatever is functionality, you should be able to code that. Right? Simple, medium complexity wala task, you should be able to do it. Coding the requirement. That's first. Second, you should know all the tools. Maybe I'll give these things in writing in the blog tomorrow. Okay. So, but yes, if you can take running notes, fine. Second, you should know the tools which are required to end-to-end work. Okay. Because that's a day-to-day job. Step 3, the process end-to-end followed right from requirement till go live. Okay. And fourth one, whatever these 30 points we mentioned, out of this, identify the top 10 or top 15, which will be required on a day-to-day basis in coding. Okay. And learn those things, because that knowledge is going to be required even as juniors, 0 to let's say 3 years of experience. Even design ka basic seek lo, learn how to write modular code. Okay, everything, whatever we mentioned, identify the top 10 or top 15 which are required for day-to-day basis in your job and learn those things. You will be very far better than many of the people in the industry, because many people don't know all these things. Junior बच्चे बच्चे एटीट्यूड में रहते हैं, जब फिर लाइफ फिर लेफ्ट राइट देने लगती है ना आफ्टर 3-4 years मार्केट में, अरे जॉब इज नॉट कमिंग एंड आई डोंट नो एनीथिंग, आई वेस्टेड माय फुल 2-3 years, प्रोजेक्ट वाज नॉट गुड, आई वर्कड ऑन लेगेसी थिंग, तब जाके आफ्टर 3-4 years आंख खुलेंगी कि भाई क्या हो गया मेरे करियर को. Because market will expect different after 3 years because you did not grow, only time passed. That's the problem. Okay, so this is very simple stuff. If you are like 0 to 3 years of experience, you should be able to code simple to medium complexity work. Functionality ko you should be able to put it into code. The more independently you can solve problems, the more good you are. Okay. Second, you should know the tools used end to end. Third, you should know the end to end process. Fourth, from these 30 topics which we discussed, identify the top 10 or top 15 which are required on a day-to-day basis in coding, and do the research about it, practice it, and become comfortable in that. Okay, that's what is required, 0 to 3. Important, yeah, be ready for any technology, any open source, be ready for that. Again, dedication, commitment, अच्छा चाहिए. Don't do dramas. Okay. Still mature nahi hote, a lot of fresh like juniors, they are still like college mindset and time pass wali public bhi hoti hai. But I've seen really amazing serious people also in my team. I have so many good people, like even junior level pe like barud bande hai, okay, really smart people, dedicated people, so we need good people. Okay, that's what it is. And now the point is, as more experience you get, let's say 3 to 6 more of these 30 topics which we said, you need to learn the ability to make decisions, when to use what is the best way, best practices, what will be the problem, and then ability to make those decisions more. And some incrementally बढ़ते चलेंगे. As your experience grows, your grip on all of these things should grow. That's what it is. Because every project will have these 30 things. Maybe some projects might have more than this as well, but सीखना पड़ेगा and make those strong decisions. And then you have to guide your team to build the systems accordingly. Okay, this is what it is. Try to be as good as possible, so as you gain more experience into these areas. Okay, okay, fine guys, I'll share the quick attendance. Let me give you the link. Okay, it extended 20 minutes more, but I think it is valuable because these things are really required for IT industry. And if you are able to do it, you will become really valuable resource for your companies and projects. Okay. Yeah, this is where it is. Attendance code for today is 7777. Okay. Durgesh is saying very nice session. And okay, Shailendra says very valuable. All these things are required for IT industry and we need good professionals. That's where I'm trying to share all these things. देखो, किसी को, nobody wants the project to fail. So if I am a manager of a team leading 40 members right now, I want that my project should succeed. And then comes the question, who are the people who can make the project successful? Yeah. And we will just find those links. Okay. Yeah, I pasted already the attendance link. Let's see. I just now pasted it. Pasting it again. Code is 7777. And this is okay. Pasted again, guys. Check it out. Now, did you get it? Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. पता नहीं actually क्या होता है when somebody is typing a response before sending नाम change हो जाता है, so it might have gone to only one person. Okay. Okay. Now let's do this thing. Okay. Now anybody who is interested. Okay. I don't know much about DevOps. Okay, but let's spend next 10-15 minutes to talk about the DevOps of whatever I feel is important. Okay, if anybody wants to drop, not really interested in infrastructure, AWS related knowledge, so yeah, you guys can drop it. But maybe next 10-15 minutes, let's do a DevOps specific discussion, because I think in this group we have got a lot of DevOps people as well. Okay, and I might be wrong in certain areas, but 13 years I worked closely with many DevOps people of my team. I have interviewed people on DevOps while recruiting for my team. So I have some sense of what is expected out of a DevOps guy. Okay. So I'll just share those things. Mark your attendance first. 10-15 minute karte. Why am I speeding up like this? Because I'm keeping Friday in mind. Next 3 दिन में खत्म हो जाएगा. So this program will be done by Friday, and next will start next month. Okay. I will learn based upon whatever these 3 weeks went. What are improvement areas of this? We will try to implement that. Okay. If anybody is like not wanting to know about DevOps, yes, you guys can continue. But I think anyways, developers ko bhi this knowledge might be required. I'll tell you the pros and cons about the DevOps side and the awareness. But it's like jana hai to jalo. Fine. Now let's get on. Okay. Okay, team. देखते हैं कितने DevOps के बंदे ग्रुप में. Okay, fine. चलो let's get started. Okay. ज़्यादा बड़ा नहीं करते, but basic लगाते हैं. Okay. देखो, and even application developers, even there will be some knowledge coming to you guys, and even front end पे भी थोड़ा बात करेंगे. Okay. How many front end guys in the house? Can you just put it in comment? Front end, anybody on the UI side front end? Can you just put it in comment? Put it in chat, guys. Front end. Okay. Sanket front end है क्या भाई? Okay. Sanket, Akhtar, Sandeep, Julie is raising hand. Mantu is learning React. Okay, so there are few front end. Ferzunisha is front end. Okay. Okay, there are few front ends, DevOps and all that also. Okay. Sunil is also there. Now, पहले DevOps को थोड़ा पकड़ते हैं. Now, so what is required? Eventually, every project runs on an infrastructure, which is an environment. Okay, and this environment has to be created by somebody. For a very long time in the IT industry, there was nothing specific role called as DevOps. The developers itself were somehow learning infrastructure, doing infrastructure. Maybe those specific people might be there who knows this thing of networking and infrastructure, wo kar le rahe the, and maybe they itself were called as the DevOps guys. But major core first need is ability to set up environments. Okay, this is the first core need of the DevOps team. Infrastructure setup. Now, in the infrastructure setup, now automatic expectation comes when you are expert of that field, you need to know everything of that, so that when there are to and fro discussions, you are expert, so you should contribute. Ki bhai, in what cases to go for on-premises infrastructure, and in what cases to go for a cloud-based infrastructure. There are companies still preferring to go on-premises. Not everybody is moving to cloud. There are reasons for that. You need to know those reasons. Now, if we say going for cloud, then which ones to prefer? Why to prefer? The pros and cons of each. Because a lot of factors will be there. Money will be there. Policies of the cloud factors will be there. So you need to have that kind of knowledge also. Which infrastructure should be used in what cases? How much is the pricing, and how much is going to be the monthly cost incurred for a decent size of any system? Okay. Next, DevOps quality. Infrastructure का सब कुछ जाना, right? So database, like, is it providing inbuilt databases? Do they have some database services? What about the database retention? Okay, what happens if your data is lost? Is there a possibility of database loss? Or can the node crash? If the node is crashing due to hardware or a software, like what is the prevention mechanism of that? Okay, if something like, and then, so all these are basic questions of an environment. Okay, then what are the sizes, like what all CPUs it can offer, single core, dual core, shared cores, and what will be required as the best for which application. That kind of decision making again comes from DevOps. Functional teams might say, we have this requirement, tell us kitne core machine pe chalana hai. So DevOps takes a leading role there based upon their expertise. Ke itna core le lo, ye kar do, and that's what to and fro discussions will happen. Okay, so all this like infrastructure end-to-end knowledge. So right now what we touched first is nodes, environments. Okay, and these all configurations of environments, like which machines, what machines, making ability to make decisions where to go, which systems to use for. Okay, pros and cons about all this. Next, you need to have a proper sense. Docker में कैसे काम करना है? Okay, Kubernetes, how exactly to do that setup? EKS, how exactly to do that setup? Okay, standalone systems versus auto scale systems. You need to know everything about that, how and where to set up all those things. Okay. Now, next thing, dev environment, stage environment, QA environment, prod environment. Let's say a closed prod might be there. How efficiently you can work on all of these environments. It has to be proposals coming from the DevOps team. Okay, bhai, this is the right way. If you want to manage multiple environments, because that's your expertise. Any project will need all this. You have to bring your expertise on the table. Okay, SASA is the right way of doing. And developers might not really be connected with all this. They'll be like, hum to kuch bhi kar lenge. Right? So you need to know as a DevOps guy about how these all things are and help people to make the right decisions. Because if anything goes wrong, that is because of DevOps wale ka galti. Okay, somewhere that person did not have the right knowledge, and that's where the system is like this. And that's a problem. Okay? So anyways, junior ko utna nahi de denge public, but once you get senior, your decision starts to like more independent. Okay? Fine, itna ho gaya environments. Now the most important part, what I feel of DevOps, environment to bana lenge. Okay? There are like multiple things which are must-haves, which were not there for a very long time previously in my projects. Then we migrated. It was a lot of effort. I'll share those 2-3 things. Okay, first, you have to be rock solid on security aspect of things. You have to be rock solid on that because you're dealing with bigger infrastructure. Which node can connect to which other nodes? From outer world, how does the traffic get inside the system? What are the sequence of softwares which it will touch and then get into the system? Where what configurations will be there? Nginx kahan pe aayega, load balancer kahan pe aayega, and what kind of people are allowed to get into the system? Which request has to be discarded, which should be forwarded further? And then when you are calling outer guys, what all things are open, which ports and which things you can call to the exterior world? Yesterday we talked about third party while entry is coming from outer. So all these things which comes into the infrastructure from the public environment and which you call outside, you need to have a protection properly implemented on that. Very strong layers. Leaks cannot happen. Configurations cannot go wrong. कि गलती से मैंने ये कोड को ऐसे कॉपी कर दिया and because of that a violated request started coming into the system. No. Okay. Next, SQL injection attacks and all these attacks which might come in the production environment on the system, you need to have understanding how infrastructure can protect the application against these production vulnerabilities. Knowledge lena padega because infrastructure is your area. Learn more, read more, see are there tools, paid tools, free tools, whatever, but security has to become a primary concern when you are setting up system. With no exceptions, no violation. Galti ho gayi, it's not possible to make a mistake in DevOps world. That's how critical job it is. You cannot make mistake as a DevOps dev engineer. Non-prod mein fine hai, production mein kuch ho gaya, bhai business ki waat lag jati. You cannot violate the production like security aspects. Okay, fine. Spoke about this. Security go keep it primary. Okay. Second focus. You can make some notes about this. Okay, I'll not put it into words later. So it's just whatever is coming to the mind, we are just speaking it out. Now, the second important thing, guys, data retention. Write it out as a second term. Okay, whatever database you have, master, slaves, because if the data is lost, the company will shut down. It's that serious. Okay, data cannot be lost at any cost. So what is the data retention policies? Master there, slave there. You have to think of disaster. There were cases, it happened like 6 months ago, sometime, AWS infrastructure mein, in some European section, earthquake came and the data center was gone. Boom. Where the data was residing. For 4 hours, system not available. It was just crashed. Okay? If your entire data is available in that data center itself, gayi, naiya ki to lag gayi thi, right? So you need to think about disaster recoveries, in which cases, okay, so you have to keep one set of data here, another set of data at some other place, and it should be recoverable when things happen. Even though, let's say, these cloud services might give a commitment, but to what extent can you rely on those commitment? You cannot say, AWS ne to aise bola tha, but you made the decision to apply whatever AWS said, so that becomes your responsibility, DevOps. Okay? So you have to think about data retention a lot. It cannot be lost at any cost. Okay? Fine. And now speaking still about these networking configurations. Third, Daldo, networking configurations. So data retention, master, slave, disaster recovery, everything very important. Okay? Third point, Daldo, networking. Within the service, service to service communication, service to database communication. Developers trying to access the database, control and communication. Who are the people supposed to do what kind of activities on the database? A level of control should be there. Even if, let's say, I am the manager of my team, I should not be allowed to cause any damage to my system. The system should be built in a manner that even if somebody internal wants to damage the system, they should not be able to damage. Keep that as your thumb rule for any configuration. Doesn't matter who he is, but system should not be broken, not from outside, not from inside. Banana padega वैसे. Unauthorized people should never get access to the production. Start taking stand. No, we are not going to give you guys access. It's risky, it is business violation, this, that. So smartly वहाँ पे bound walls लगाने पड़े. Okay, and then there are workarounds like how to give, how to not give, or they might be like, okay, give it only to one person, and that person is very responsible person. Kuch to, there are ways. Okay, but that's the next thing. How service, which service will talk to what service? Which service will talk to database? If the developers are talking to database, what are their commit rights? Is it only read only or write kind of? There have been cases I heard with my friends and all. People stole production data and they sold it outside, and because of that police came and they took them to jail. Cyber crime ho gaya. Okay, so be very careful. And for everybody in the house, production data can never come in your local machine. Never ever. Developer ho, QA ho, production ka koi file, because when something breach happens, you will be caught for that. What is production data doing in your local? Be it an Excel sheet or a file, you should not. If you are going to do it because of some migration of production activities and something, you should take approval for that, use it and delete it and confirm that you have deleted. If anything gets leaked, you become seriously accountable. Serious crimes hote hain. Okay? No violation there. Police aake leke jate. Cyber crime hai yaar. Data stealing is a big problem. So that's the next thing. Okay, write it like production data has to be taken very seriously. Okay. Now next. Now this is again second very important one. Any updates. Now there is this concept called as infrastructure as a service. Okay, just write it down. This term, infrastructure as a service or infrastructure as a code. Sorry. Okay. Infrastructure as a code. What does this mean? Okay. You should never, let's use that word. You should never directly update any command on any node. And that's what a regular people do. Connect to node, execute pip command, software install, this port configuration, nginx configuration. See the machine mein jaake, they put everything. Okay. What happens is, if you're doing everything directly on the node, if that node gets crashed due to whatever reason, it happens. Okay. Hardware crash ho jata hai, and then the team says, cloud team says, oh, it's not possible to recover. You have to set up everything from scratch. So if you have done all your configurations of that machine, and many times when the OS is setting up, your system is supposed to go there, a lot of ad hoc queries have to be, or commands have to be run to prepare it properly. So sometimes you have to do tuning of the machine. it will start running at 100% CPU, 90% CPUs. Disk will start filling up and you will be like, kya ho raha hai? And then there are some basic port configurations and tunings which needs to be done on your machines. By that way, network IO and everything gets balanced properly. Again, DevOps people are supposed to know those things. I know it because we faced all these things and then our DevOps guys explored and fixed these problems. So I know what concerns happen. Okay? Now, the thing is, if you directly go to node and you make modifications, understand the need, crash ho gaya to everything is lost. It might be for 1 year you kept doing that, and after the end of 1 year, machine is crashed and now you're completely lost. Okay, so it cannot be like that. You have to do infrastructure as a code. Nothing but the way technical people write Java code. This code is available in repository, Bitbucket, GitHub, somewhere. Okay, wherever system crashes, even the machine is crashed, these people take this latest code from Bitbucket, and then that code is again built and redeployed. So we are not dependent on machines. We have our code from where it can be anytime restored and given back. And these kind of tools maintain backups. Okay, we will, Bitbucket and all, they assure 100% assurance ki code nahi jayega. And it's blindly being used by a lot of people. Okay? Now, you have to do similar coding for your infrastructure changes. Every command has to be written in the technologies which you know. Okay, for example, cloud formation, that is one. Cloud formation templates is one. Ansible is another. Okay, yeah, I guess, yeah, Terraform is one. So you have to learn all these things and start doing coding only via that. Never touch the machine directly. Apply it here. Maybe on the non-prod you can experiment, but you should use this templates itself to execute anything. That's a very strong knowledge. So make it a thumb rule. Otherwise, there will be crisis. Okay, so write down that one. Okay. Yes, it helps in disaster recovery and many places. It's very much required. Okay. From scratch, if you want to set up system, people execute these scripts itself. They don't do anything manual, and that's how it has to be. Okay. Now the next thing. So these are all environment ka pura thing. Okay. Now further, like today we spoke about these few things. Right? Kibana, okay, basic database knowledge. Sometimes even query executions might go to these DevOps people. If I select query or whatever update query, you have to execute this query. So I think having a basic knowledge of queries will also help you. Okay, how this database ka thoda basic knowledge will give you value add advantage. Okay. Next, ability to explore on these tools like log processing tools like Kibana. Health monitoring setups and all, AWS guys itself takes care of it. Matlab, you guys, the DevOps team takes care of health monitoring, alert monitoring, performance, and all those monitoring dashboards you guys have to build. So all that is again part of your DevOps scope to be able to build that. Okay. Now, और क्या रहता है infrastructure? Yeah, calling external third party, interior, this API gateway keeper, mastering that API gateway keeper is again going to be like, what is it, how to do the configurations, and for entry traffic like this, DDoS attacks will be there, very common attacks, denial of service attacks, and you might have to write some scripts as part of this API gateway keeper. We have written these kind of scripts, and for many projects it's there. All of a sudden, from certain IPs, lot of like DDoS attacks starts happening. They try to really bring down your production system. So how do we protect against that? So there are paid solutions available, but I think some configurations also you can do it at the AWS level, okay, to really deviate the traffic away, or install a CDN. So you would need to know even that kind of exploring CDN, like content distribution networks, how to do that kind of setup, how routing happens from CDN system to your system. वो connections भी करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. Next, sonar related, the sonar cube or the sonar central management also comes as part of the DevOps activities. Okay, because it is again admin control, developer तो सब कर लेंगे, but sonar का basic थोड़ा जो setup होता है centrally controlled वाला, again DevOps को ownership उसका मिलता है many of the times. ठीक है. Yes, somebody saying credential management. So that is another area. AWS secret manager, it is something where your database ke username passwords or SFTP passwords, it will not be available in the source code. Bitbucket mein nahi jata hai. These all credentials have to be stored separately as part of, again, this AWS secret manager. Okay, and that will come completely different. Okay, so that is again one of this responsibility of DevOps. So nothing but user role and access and all that. Yes, which user should be able to do what. Just understand ki infrastructure related kuch bhi cheez is part of the DevOps. Okay, that is one state. We spoke so many things. It's all part of the DevOps. Okay. Now another thing comes. There are a lot of internal small things. Okay, but ability to explore connectivity, SFTP connections, S3 bucket connections. Okay, somewhat even coding and scripting का knowledge भी is going to be value add. Okay, shell scripts कभी-कभी लिख दे रहे हैं machine पे कुछ काम करने के लिए. Okay, Python scripts sometimes they are writing for getting something done quickly. So these kind of things will be add-on advantages to get the results fatafat. Okay, that will give add-on advantage. Now, apart from all this thing, comes the CI/CD pipeline. Continuous development, continuous deployment. So apart from this entire chaos of this environment management, they take care of this end-to-end, end-to-end CI/CD pipeline. Okay, which includes even the developer commits anything to the Bitbucket, check out that code, build it, then give it to the next, pass it through a layer of unit testing, validate that, then automation testing, validate that, and then it keeps going on and on through layers. Okay, and then approvals, and if everything is proper, then you take it forward. If it is not proper, raise alerts and triggers ki bhai ye failed, and we cannot build it forward. Okay, and then that's a full CI/CD pipeline. And if the build is successful, start maintaining an archive of that, so host it somewhere in your maybe as the last successful build file. Okay, and from there, when should it be shipped to environments? Yeah, that term is artifacts. Then it should go to the environment, the full CI/CD pipeline work. And then important thing again, key, everything should be reversible. Okay, everything should be reversible. Okay, if you're doing some action, backup strategy should always be there. I think this is one area where DevOps really go wrong. They don't think about ki, okay, agar kuch problem ho gaya, like anything, any action you do, there should be a retrieval from that. There has to be a backup way of doing, because these are infrastructures that you're touching, and if something is corrupted and you guys are not able to solve it quickly, it will damage business. So you need to know always ki how do you reverse back the things as quickly as possible if you are not able to fix the problem as early, especially when you do production. So if you are not aware of backup strategy, don't go it forward. Okay, and just snapshots will not work. Okay, snapshots और वो सब चीजें अपनी जगह पे रहती है, but you have to, because sometimes what production में बोलते हैं snapshot restoration मतलब बीच का data चला जाता है. Sometimes they say no, we don't want to lose that data. Only the specific few things has to be reverted back. So be careful about it. Okay, and yes, the snapshots एक ये याद आया कि भाई all throughout the day, multiple times snapshots of the infrastructure has to be taken. It is scheduled jobs, it always keeps running. Database ke snapshots, machine ke snapshots, images will always be there. So that is again like, okay, backups is an important area. So you can write the term as backups, and whatever comes in the backup related area, you need to focus on those areas. Okay, so देखो majorly तो यही काम करते हैं. Okay, infrastructure management and the CI/CD pipeline. फिर वहाँ पे all the tools will come, Jenkins use करो, ये use करो, वो use करो. But yeah, basically I feel that these are the two areas. Now, is there any third area, guys? You can put it in comment. Is there any third area apart from this full infrastructure management and CI/CD pipeline? Is there a third area also? DB deployments and all may at times they come. Okay, so production support ke saath bhi, yeah, that could be third area where they at times work with production support, doing the DB deployment, script executions, so that, okay, monitoring and alerting. Yes, so we touched that, all those configurations, monitoring, health monitoring, everything comes. Okay, fine. So yeah, these are what is the things. Now let me tell you one very quick thing. Okay, it might be really required for you guys to plan your future properly on DevOps or wherever. Okay, and yes, some other people are making decisions ki DevOps mein jana hai, ye karna hai, wo karna hai. Okay, let me tell you, right now, yes, there is good market for DevOps. Okay, because production environments are changing very rapidly, and if it is not built up with the right standards and best practices, then production systems will suffer. And it cannot be done on a trial and error mode कि किसी developer को दे दिए and like खेलते बैठा है. It cannot work like that. So it has to be really professional, sophisticated, organized, because breaches are growing in the production environment. The main thing तो security वाले part पे कि system तो proper रखो, but it should not be breachable. Okay, so that's where we need experts. So market में grow हो रहा है DevOps का need. Okay, and it was not that much very well executed in the past. That is where right now the need is coming more, and good people are not that much. Okay, yeah, migrations to multi-cloud, so these kind of things will also be some projects like migration projects. AWS से उठा के वहां डालो, वहां से उठा के वहां डालो. So these kind of activities also you guys have to do it. Okay, so now the thing is, okay, getting back how this, so in the past it was not that greatly organized, but now the production need of DevOps is too much high. Okay, because projects have to be good, have to be stable. That's what is the production need right now. So there is a need in the market, and good people are not that easily available of that. And there are people only with education knowledge. They don't really know the practical stuff, and it will not work out. Theoretical knowledge say confidence in AI. If I hire a person who has not practically hands-on done anything, I will not get confidence to give my production system to this guy. So matlab hands-on hona is a must. You need to know everything. You need to fix things. You need to figure out things. Nobody is going to tell you anything. You have to figure out. That attitude should be there. Work with your seniors. Get the work done. Khud karna seekhna padega. Because nobody else knows it. It's your area. Figure out. Others will be like, क्या चाहिए मैं तेको एक और DevOps लाके support को दे सकता हूँ और क्या करे? Fix it. ठीक है? Whatever is the problem. Now the thing is कि market में need हो रही है. But you need to understand what is this need. Okay. For many companies, there are shared DevOps pool. Okay, maybe for 50 people, 50 developer QA ka team unit, there might be 2-3 DevOps. For 100 people or 500 people, there might be pool of let's say 20 DevOps. Understand the ratio. 20 to 1 or 30 to 1, I don't know, 30 to 2, 30 to 3, बहुत हो गया. 10 लोग में एक DevOps नहीं होता है. That's for sure. 10 to 1 ratio तो है ही नहीं. Maybe some companies might go for a 20 to 1 kind of ratio, or if for big projects, shared pools of DevOps will be there. And DevOps work is not always, they have to automate stuff a lot. That means the work should happen by itself. DevOps is not required every single time for doing activity. That is where there is this pool in a company. They set up these systems, they automate these all systems so that the system runs by itself. And if there is any problem or enhancement required, then the people go back to that project and then further try to enhance it. Otherwise, it's one-time setup and it should keep running by itself. And then, so understand the need right now, it's there because market may, we don't have such people, but know the big picture. 20 to 1 ratio chal raha hai. Okay, if there are 10 developers Java openings, there might be 1 opening for a DevOps guy. Just understand कि ratio कैसे चल रहा है and what market you are then going into, because future इसी पे shape होने वाला है. Yes, there is DevOps related और need भी आ सकती है, but know the ratio. Company में pool होते हैं. Now, what I would recommend, if any Java developer is planning to switch to a DevOps role, I would say don't go straight up. That's a wrong path. It will impact your career and growth and everything. Okay? If beginner itself is DevOps dedicated, it's a different story. But if an application developer is saying, I want to become DevOps, that's a wrong decision. You have to be good with application development. Second step should be learn these infrastructures. Okay, learn these infrastructures called as like whatever AWS certification, this, that, work with infrastructures, and then yes, become DevOps, but don't leave your application knowledge. Be a full set. कि भाई infrastructure भी काम करने आ रहा है मेरे को, application development also I'm able to do. So if you're already a programmer in application, I would not recommend you to fully switch and change your stream altogether. have a bigger scope and be always hands-on in both, you will have a better prospects of things. Okay. Now this is what will be my recommendation. Okay. So okay, and now Ambuj is saying, I think he's also having some DevOps related. He's saying many companies just keep DevOps engineers on call basis, like contract basis, because the main focus kya hota hai? How build the best system, automate it so that it can run by with few efforts, and then yeah, you keep exploring new and new things. So that's how look at a bigger picture. But yes, market is there, and it is very important market. Okay, and need is there, but know the ratio. And maybe yes, there are so many projects happening, so there might always be need, but right now it's there, and all of a sudden it will saturate. You don't know in how many years, but a time aayega jahan pe public bhar jayegi, and then there will be so many good DevOps engineers, and then it will be like mara mari kafi rahegi. Okay, so I would suggest ki yes, start even like no, like if you are preferring to go to the DevOps, okay, try to build your next 5 years kind of vision कि कैसे और grow करना है, what all skills you need to have, which will always keep you forward in the market, not just limited to what you are knowing right now. So try to really keep your vision open and accordingly move forward. ठीक है, I think Python scripting ये वो भी काफी कुछ सीखते चलो, and I think there is scope, but अभी तक पता नहीं कि how the market is going to shape. ठीक है, so okay, somebody is saying better to have tech knowledge. Python I think is really good. It speeds up a lot of things. So I think that is one area. Or pata nahi dekho, we don't know how the world will shape up. Right now to need hai, and market mein good people are not there. So if you can become very good, but keep your vision 5 years forward and moving into a better direction. Ki kaise aage leke jana hai. That's very much required, because 20:1 ratio you can understand. And okay, and so that's it. That's what I want. This is everything that I know of DevOps. And I might be wrong at certain areas. So if anything is taking anything in this, I might be wrong in my analysis also. But I have seen 20 लोग के team में एक दे देते हैं, and काम तो होता है, but just know the ratio. ठीक है? So just telling you the real picture so that you can accordingly prepare yourself, be confident कि क्या market है वो, and accordingly shape yourself. But they are also getting good money. Okay, so money wise also hikes are good, packages are good, DevOps engineers को अच्छा खासा मिल रहा है, because it's challenging. It's not easy, guys. Security production manage करना, it's challenging. R&D करना आना चाहिए, POC problem solving, everything is very much required. So it's challenging role, it's interesting role, and मजा भी आएगा करने. And automation and evolution, there is a lot of है, काफी है, काम अच्छा है. ठीक है, work is good. Competition narrow, but I think if many companies and many projects, if everybody is using it, there will be a market also. Okay, but keep your vision always 5 साल का सोचते रखो, ताकि you can start thinking properly right now. Okay, and be in touch, yes, with your senior guys and keep taking the guidance. Okay. Chalo, thank you everybody. It is a final Wednesday, and then we will connect Thursday tomorrow back again 9 with job seeker game. Okay, job seeking or hunting पे शुरू करते हैं. चलो, thank you everybody and have a nice peaceful sleep. चलो 11 बज गए. Thank you all.